Well, good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock and it's Friday, so it's time for Flashcard Friday. And much like Pastor Chad on Wednesday, I had something else in mind earlier on in the week. But in light of what's happened this week, I wanted to take something just a little bit softer and a little bit sweeter. Uh, just because the chaos that we're living in, I think is enough. Uh, there's enough gut wrenching going on that maybe we should take a little time to do something different. So I want to talk about refocusing, and it's going to be very similar to last week where we talked about Jesus meeting people right where they are, and there are seven more stories uh, where again Jesus meets these women right where they are. But I want to take a look at what they were going through. And again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to read, all of these scriptures. We're just going to kind of paraphrase it and talk about it a little bit. But I would highly recommend that you read these scriptures on your own. They are just some really cool stories, and there are some little things hidden within them that they make me fall in love with this book every time. Uh, but Jesus met these women in some different areas in their life, and he showed them something. It seems simple, but what I try to do is I try to put myself in their position. In John 8 verses 1 through 11, you have a woman caught in adultery. Okay, I mean, she has been caught in it, and no excuses, they framed me, nothing like that. She has been caught in the act, and Jesus meets her in that guilt. So like if you know this story, for the crowd, he makes the comment, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And obviously that the Pharisees and the rulers all walk away. But then he says something to the woman, at the very end. He says, woman, where are your accusers? Are there none left? And she says, no, nobody's left here, just you. And he said, and he says, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. And in that, what he's saying is, I'm the only one who could condemn you, and I don't. But I see your need for affection. I see that need for love that you have. If you'll focus your attention on me, you won't even think about sinning anymore. If you change your focus, if you look at me as your Savior, because know that I just saved you in this moment, you won't contemplate sin anymore. And then earlier in John 4 verses 4 through 26, it's a very similar situation. This is the woman at the well. And, this is a woman who's been married 5 times. Most theologians believe that she probably was infertile. She probably could not have children. And that's why she had so many husbands. They married her. She was probably very beautiful. So they marry her, and then when they find out that they can't have kids with her, they kind of kick her to the curb. So Jesus, meets her in her shame. She goes to the well in the middle of the day. The only reason that she goes to the well during that time frame is because she knows nobody else is there. And she kind of has this back and forth where he's just questioning, some different things about her. And in the end of it, as he's pretty much told her, yeah, you've had 5 husbands, and the guy that you're living with right now, he's not even married to you. Um, but in that, he tells her that she's looking for love in all of the wrong places. If she'll turn towards him with that desperate desire to be loved and to be cared for, if she'll refocus her attention and refocus her needs, she'll never be thirsty again. She'll discover that he's that living water that she's been chasing after so much. And then in Luke 13, this this is probably one of my favorite stories, and there are a bunch of takeaways from this one, but I want to talk about the fact that Jesus met this woman. She's bent over, and in some of the some of the scriptures, it says that she's bent over double. Okay, so that means she's literally, the view of the world for her is that area around her feet. That's all she can see. And Jesus met her in that pain. Now, in that day and age, anybody who had any type of an ailment like that would be considered unclean, which meant that no holy person was allowed to touch them. And the first thing that Jesus does in there, because again, he meets her in the middle of her pain, because the pain is not just the spinal stenosis that she has going on, but her pain is also in the fact that for 18 years, she hasn't been touched. And the first thing he does, he touches her. And he says, hey, let's change your focus. Stop looking at the ground. Stop looking at all of this that's holding you back, and look at me. Again, he just changed her focus, and she was instantly healed. In that moment, she was instantly healed. And Luke doesn't deal in a lot of immediate, and happen quickly. That's usually done by Mark. But Luke says immediately she stood up. And then speaking of Mark, if you go to Mark 7, verses 24 through 30, this is a Syrophoenician woman, and it's probably one of the most comical scriptures to watch. Jesus, he's kind of trying to get away from the crowds and all of that, and he goes into this house, and the Syrophoenician woman sees him. Now, a Syrophoenician woman, she's not a believer, she's a Gentile. But she knows that there's something special about this man, and she knows that her daughter, her daughter that she loves so much is hurting. She's been possessed by a demon of some type. And she knows, just based on what she's heard from the crowd, she knows that this guy is going to be able to help her. So she goes in, and they start talking back and forth, and Jesus pretty much, tells her, and she's like, the food that I have, that's for my children. Why would I give food to the dogs? He starts bantering back and forth with her, depending on who you believe. Some say that he's testing her, and I kind of think he is. In a way, he's seeing how, I think he's seeing the depth of her love for her daughter, because she banters right back, and she's like, but, even the dogs get the scraps, from the children. She's saying, Jesus, I know, not being a believer, I can't ask you for everything, just asking you for a little piece. And Jesus met her in that love. He met her in that desire. And he just simply says, go home, your faith has cured your daughter. So again, he's saying you changed your focus. You put your focus on the one thing that could save your child. You changed that. And as a result of that, your daughter's going to be just fine. And then this is by far my favorite woman in the Bible. In Luke 2, verses 36 through 38, it's really short. It's really short, it's really quick, but it's so impactful. You have a prophetess, and her name is Anna. Uh, Anna was married for 7 years, and then her husband dies. So she's likely 20. She's somewhere between 18 and 20 at this point in time, and she doesn't have a husband. So she spends the rest of her time inside the synagogue. The scripture says she never leaves. And she's well into her 80s, so she's been there, 60 plus years. And some scriptures actually have her as being 100, which means she's been in the synagogue for 80 years. So she's cleaning the seats, and she's cleaning everything up. But she knows that she will not die, just like Simeon, who's talked about just before this. She knows that she won't die until she sees the Messiah. And in walks this young couple with a baby in her arms, with a baby in their arms, and she knows. She knows at that moment that she's free, because she knows that she's seen the Messiah. So she goes over, and she has a conversation with them, but she has a conversation with the crowd. To basically say to everybody, put your focus right here. Put your focus on this child. This is the Messiah. Our lives are about to change. And so again, it was just that little shift of her focus. And then in Luke 8, verses 40 through 48, you hear this one preached a lot. This is the woman with the issue of blood. And again, most of the focus is on the fact that, she reaches through the middle of this crowd and she just grabs the hem of his garment, because she knows, any shot that she has of being healed from an affliction that's kept her down for 12 years, any shot that she has lies in that man. So she reaches out and she grabs his garment, and he instantly turns around, to find, he's like, power just left me. Who did that? And she probably could have gotten away with it. But fear set in, because the crowd could easily, start finger pointing at her, going, she did it, she did it, she did it. So she steps forward and she has to admit to Jesus that she's the one that touched him. But in that, she told her story. She got to tell him why. Why she reached out and touched the hem of his garment. And again, he says, your faith, the fact that you shifted your focus and you put your focus on me, your faith healed you. Your faith healed you. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And then the final one that I want to talk about, this lady never says a word to Jesus. But in Luke 7, verses 11 through 17, you have a mama. And she's lost her son. And again, dead bodies in that day and age were considered unclean, obviously for logical reasons. So they had to be taken out of town. And there's no mention of a husband in this, so she's likely lost her husband as well. So she's leaving town. They're carrying her son on his, it's called a bier. But it would basically just be, it would be, two poles, and they would have her dead son on top of that, and they're carrying them out of town. She's likely leaving town as well, because all of her value would have been in her son, so she now has no value. So she's probably leaving with no hope. There's really nothing left for her. Whew. And Jesus sees her on the way, and and again, he, it's that eye contact, and he said, I see your pain. I see what's going on. Shift your focus to me, And he reaches up and he touches the boy. He touched her sadness. And the boy arose. He raised the boy from the dead and gave her a second chance. And again, there's very little communication here, but basically he's telling her, he's like, bring your focus to me. Let me walk you through this struggle. So when you think about, what you're going through, at work or at home, or even what's going on in the world today, where's your focus? Is it time to refocus and put that focus on Jesus? And if you do, how much of your perspective is going to change? And how much of your worldview is gonna feel better as a result, because your focus is on the one thing that can save you, and that's Jesus. He's the only one that can change the trajectory of your life. All of these people here saw it, and I cherry picked. I only picked a handful. There's a multitude of both women and men who have interactions just like this, where all Jesus did was just tilt their focus just a little bit, and say, I'm the one that you should be following, not the world. It doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. It doesn't matter what your worldly views are. What matters is what you're focused on the most. That's going to show you what matters the most, and that's going to be the one thing that will change the trajectory of your life. So again, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I enjoy getting to spend this time with you, and I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday. Talk to you later. Bye.